Hello and welcome to Middlebury Edition. I'm Middlebury Representative Robin Scheu, your host for the program. Middlebury Edition was created primarily for the purpose of educating Middlebury residents about local services and activities and to provide an opportunity for local nonprofit organizations to talk about their work. Today's guest is Beth Diamond, Southwest Regional Resource Specialist for Vermont 211. The beginnings of what is now Vermont 211 go back to 1970 when a hotline for help was established as a volunteer hotline and community information and referral service for Vermont's Windham County residents. Lots of activities and events occurred over the next 35 years, and then in 2005, the United Ways of Vermont officially launched 211 in Vermont. According to their website, Vermont 211 is the number to dial to find out about hundreds of important community resources like emergency food and shelter, disability services, counseling, senior services, health care, child care, drug and alcohol programs, legal assistance, transportation agencies, education and volunteer opportunities, and much more. That is a lot. 211 celebrated its 15th anniversary in 2020, having helped thousands of Vermonters over the years. And yet I'm always surprised that there are folks that haven't heard about this great resource. So I'm really glad to have Beth on the show with us today. Welcome, Beth. It's great to have you.
Robin.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
It's true. Not as many people know about 211 as we think they should.
Right. Yeah, you've now been around for 16 years, and yet there are still Vermonters who don't know about it. So tell us, what is 211?
Okay, well, what we are is a 24-hour helpline. We're not a hotline. We are a helpline. When you dial 211, there is a recording and you have to press the number that you want, but you are ultimately going to speak with a live person.
Oh, great. And all they have to do is hit 211, no other numbers.
There's no other numbers.
Okay.
If for some reason you're on the border of another state, but we don't have to worry about that here in Addison County,
Yeah.
but we do have a 10-digit number, of course, a toll-free number from within Vermont.
Yeah.
But 211 is so easy to remember.
Right.
And also I want to point out that there are 211s in every state in the United States.
Really?
And throughout Canada.
Wow. So if you're there and need help anywhere in the country or Canada, you can get help.
Right. If you want, yeah, if you're, and also because of that, if you have a relative or a friend in another state, you can call us and be connected to the 211 in that state.
Oh, great.
So that's an extra added bonus
Yeah.
that we have.
That's
So
great.
what do we do? What we do is called information and referral. And basically, the tagline for that is that it's the art, science, and practice of connecting people with resources. It's a very simple concept. And because we are free, it doesn't cost the consumer anything to dial 211, and it doesn't cost the agencies that are in our database anything to be in our database. It's totally free.
Oh, that's great. So you kind of are a collector of information, aggregator of all the information and resources for the whole state.
For the whole state.
Wow.
For the whole state. But
One-stop
that doesn't
shop.
mean we don't focus in on local. I mean,
Right.
we have resources throughout the state in our database. And you'll see later that we have particular resources for Addison County, and I'll explain how you get to that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So somebody can call or they can text, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
So texting wasn't always available in the Stone Ages of
Right.
211. No texting.
Of 10 years ago, yeah.
But you know, we always have to change with the times. And let's face it, most younger people,
Yeah.
of which I am not, text.
Right.
I mean, my granddaughter texts me instead
Right.
of calling me.
Right. It's a way to communicate, and
It's
you've
the way
got
to
to meet people
communicate.
where they are. So.
But you can also access our database online, and I'll show you that
Great.
later.
We'll get to that. Yeah, that's great. So what happens when somebody calls or texts?
Okay. So the first thing that happens is that you will be asked where you're calling from, where you live. And the reason that's important is because of the way the database is organized. So every single resource is linked geographically.
Oh, okay.
So if, for example, Hope's Food Shelf is available to anyone in Addison County. So that service is linked to Addison County.
Right.
And Addison County means every town in Addison County. So if you tell the community resource person what town you live in, they'll be able to pinpoint the resources that are just available to you, because you really don't want to know about the resources that are not available to you.
Right, right. That makes a lot of sense. So when they first call, does a person answer the phone immediately, or do you get a recording?
You get a recording.
Okay.
And because of the world we live in, for example, there's going to be changing recordings depending upon what's really important right now.
Right.
And I haven't called recently. I've been too busy updating the database. But most recently about COVID.
Yeah.
You know, if you want COVID information, press this, you know.
So could that help people if they wanted to know where they could get a vaccine or get tested or things like that too?
I'm not sure where that
Yeah.
queue is right now, but
Yeah.
but certainly the community resource specialists know,
Right.
you know, can get you right to that.
Right, right.
They can look at the page.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So I kind of got ahead of myself, because it's the town, and then it's also your age is asked. You do not have to answer that question. However, there are many, many resources that have an age requirement. So there's resources for people 60 and over.
Right.
If you're not 60 and over, do you want to see the resources for people that are 60 and over?
Right.
Maybe not.
Right.
But if you're calling about someone who's 60 or over,
Right.
then you're going to tell them the age of the person you're calling about.
Right. Right. So all those questions, while they may seem intrusive or something at first, are all done for a real purpose, so that we can direct people
Absolutely.
to the right resource for them.
Absolutely. And we don't keep that information person by person, but
Yeah.
we know how many females have called us,
Yeah.
how many people in Addison County have called us, how many people in Middlebury have called us or contacted us another
Right.
way. And we even know how many people searched our database online
Wow.
by county
Great.
or by a particular agency.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that's very helpful, and I'll look forward in a couple of minutes here looking at the website, so we can sort of show everybody what sort of things
So there
you do.
there are over 1,000 agencies in the website. I mean, in the database.
In the database, statewide.
Over 1,000
Wow.
agencies, and within those 1,000 agencies, there's more than 3,000 programs, and within those programs, there's over 10,000 services, individual services. And it's also linked through a taxonomy of human services, which, since it's nationwide, there's an adjusted one for Canada.
Right. So it's sort of a standard way of laying
there's
things
a
out.
standard it's like the library.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like our taxonomy of human services is in sections, in branches.
Yeah.
And then you can go as deep as you want.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. So, what are the most common reasons people contact
Well,
211?
the most common reasons are about basic needs. So they're calling us for food, for shelter, and not necessarily for a shelter, but for rent assistance, utility assistance, rent deposit assistance, or legal assistance, landlord
Disputes,
mediation,
yeah.
you know, those kind of things. And then transportation, which is a very basic need.
Yeah.
And we can talk forever about that, but that's not.
So you refer them, to our local transit company or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, those those schedules for the bus aren't necessarily that user friendly. So you can get help with that.
Yeah. Well, that's
interpreting
good.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, of course, clothing and household goods. So those are the basic needs.
Yeah.
And we do have a contract with the state of Vermont to answer the after-hours emergency housing line.
Oh, okay.
So we do house people after hours, but it's not our program. I want to reiterate, it's not our program.
Yeah.
We are
But-
not turning people down or accepting people.
Right.
We have to go by the state's rules.
So you
And-
refer them to. So does that mean that there's somebody able to answer the phone 24 hours a day? So some people are at night answering the phone?
Oh yeah, we're 24/7,
Wow.
365. If it's Christmas Eve, 2 o'clock in the morning,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be able to reach somebody at 211.
Wow. So that's a lot of staff.
Well, we do
volunteers.
for a very small part of the evening,
Okay.
we do have another 211 answering our calls.
Uh-huh.
But they have just as easy a connection to our
Right.
database as we do. And
Right.
they are also trained community
Okay.
resource specialists. These are
Yeah.
not volunteers who answer the phone.
Okay. Right. All right.
Except when there's a disaster. Remember
sure.
Tropical Storm
Sure,
Irene?
sure.
Well, yeah. So the state designated 211 as the number to call to report
Oh.
property damage. And so we had to ramp up, and we have the ability to ramp up with
Yeah.
volunteers.
That's
Or
great.
get another 211
Yeah.
to answer some of the calls.
Wow.
And we are getting the information directly from the state.
That's an amazing system.
And because we answered those calls and took down that information and got it to reported it to the feds
Right. FEMA.
very
yeah.
quickly, we were able to get that declaration of disaster
Yeah.
much more quickly than ever before.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
think about it, if there wasn't a large group of people taking that information
Right.
in, maybe who did they know to call?
Right. And it was centralized so that you could really get the data together
Exactly.
and put it
And we got
instead
it
of having
out,
14 counties.
They
yeah.
got it out.
Yeah.
It
That's
was great. It was great.
That's impressive, the ability to ramp up in emergencies like that. That's
So what was the question?
no, I don't even
Lost
remember what
track
the
of
question was, but it was sort of about the most recent that people contact. But one question you mentioned to me that Addison County generally has fewer calls relative to their population versus other areas, and I'm wondering why you think that is.
Well, and I've lived in Addison County as long as I've lived in Vermont.
Yeah,
And
me
I know
too.
Addison County very well.
Yeah.
And when you think about the fact that most people who call us are calling us about food and shelter and
Right.
clothing and transportation, the agencies who cover that in Addison County are
Yeah.
very, very good at getting their own word out.
Yeah,
So it's not surprising.
right.
But I do want to emphasize that there are so many resources in the database that are just for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever try to look up a government agency by Google? Or, God forbid, the phone book?
Yes, not the phone book, but definitely Google.
And the other thing is,
Yeah.
you know, the average person may not know what agency in the government covers what.
Right.
And we do have about 35 different agencies and ways to complain about something in the database. So
Wow.
it's very specific.
Yeah.
And some of them have very specific protocols
Huh.
that you have to go through. Like
Yeah.
before you call them, you have to have done
Right.
X. So if you want to complain about something, call us and tell us what you want to complain about, and we'll get you to the right the right place.
I had no
complain about
idea.
it.
I can clearly see that I need to spend some more time on the website because that's not how I've thought about the 211s, and I bet a lot of other people think the same way. So let's go to the website.
Oh, let's do that.
So I think we're gonna,
Here we
it
are.
is. All right.
Okay, so here's our website.
So it's 211.org. If you put in your
Vermont spelled out,
Google
Vermont211.org.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
But if you typed in VT211.org,
It'll show up.
you're gonna get it somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our landing page. This is what I call the landing page.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we are a program of the United Ways of Vermont.
Yes.
Oh,
All of the
I'd
United
get killed
Ways.
if I didn't mention
That's
that.
right.
And we are accredited by the Alliance of Information and Referral Systems.
Okay.
Okay, so here's our landing page. And I just want to point out that this big section in the middle is for current news or important news that we want to get the word out about. And we are hiring. We are hiring for 4 different positions at this point. And I don't know where we will been in that hiring practice
Right.
at the
when it
time that
shows
this
up.
show airs.
Am I seeing executive director as one
Yes.
of the? Wow,
Yes,
that's a big position.
that's a big position.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so here are the 3 important boxes really to remember, and one is click here for our community resource
The black
directory.
box.
It's a dark blue box.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's what you will find.
Okay.
Okay, so here's our caveat about COVID.
Oh, and the orange and the big.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So what you have to do is, what I suggest you do is you put in your zip code,
Okay.
and then if your zip code is covers more than one town,
Yeah.
it will give you
Like Middlebury.
a
Yeah.
select.
Okay. So we'll
And
use
here we
Middlebury.
are, and we're going to do Middlebury.
Okay.
Okay, so now there's 3 ways to search. You can actually search by a program or agency name. So you could put CVOEO in here.
Yeah.
You can search by category.
Ah.
During COVID, I had to include a special button for
Sure.
COVID.
That was a new one, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody just wants to know about housing or food, or they can click on the box.
Here's COVID. You
Okay.
could vaccines, boosters, and testing, basic COVID information, and funeral expense assistance. Many people do not realize
Right.
that if your loved one has died from COVID, there's a benefit.
Right.
And then school, pets, travel, and more. So it's in drop downs. Okay?
Great.
All right. So let's go back. We're going to go back here. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go back. Oh, the wonders of technology.
There we go. It's,
So those are categories.
Yeah.
Crisis and helplines, tax help, food, legal services, dental care, things for parents. And we do have a relationship with Help Me Grow Vermont, which
Okay.
is for pregnant women and parents of children birth through age 8.
okay.
And that is a special button on our queue.
Great.
Okay, that's the
So-
State of Vermont program.
Right. So let's go back, and if you put in the zip code again, I think we still have to do
Yep.
that again.
Yeah,
And then
sorry
let's
about
do
that.
the box on the right. So we're putting in Middlebury zip code and picking
Yeah.
Middlebury again.
So here's the most important thing.
Okay.
I'm going to put in food.
Okay, so that says you're looking for just a general topic.
Right.
So food has a whole lot of choices under food.
Yes,
Oh my goodness.
that's right. There's a lot of choices, and they're a little tiny.
Yeah.
But
So, yeah. Pick
so
one.
yeah, food complaints. Well, remember I talked about
Oh yes.
complaints? Food pantries. Let's look at that one.
Okay.
That's
food
a
pantries.
common. That's a common one.
Okay.
And then you click search. You have to click on that term, and
Yeah.
then you click on search.
Okay. So these are going to only be the food pantries that somebody in Middlebury has access to.
That's right.
Okay.
Because I put in 05753,
Okay.
which is my zip code.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so here they are, the 4 places where
Okay.
people from Addison County can go.
From Middlebury can go.
From Middlebury can
because
go.
yeah.
Right.
Because there are a couple that are in Middlebury.
There's CBOEO, there's
Yeah.
the Addison Community Action,
Yeah.
and then there's Hope.
Right. And then
Everybody
there's-
knows about those two,
Right.
I think. And then the Whiting Community Church also opens its doors to anyone in the county,
Okay.
and the Congregational Church of Virgins as
Virgins.
well.
Okay.
So let's use Hope as an
Okay.
example, and I'm using that as an example because I used to work there when it was ACAG.
I
If you
remember ACAG.
that,
Yes,
okay?
you bet.
That was like 15 years ago before I got this job. Okay, so this gives you an example of the detail.
Ah.
It's not just a phone number. It's not like dialing 411 and asking for the phone number of
Right.
Hope.
Right.
Here are all the pertinent information about the food shelf.
Okay.
So, geographic area served, Addison County, and the service description offers non-perishable and perishable foods, including fresh produce, supermarket surplus, and frozen items. A limited supply of personal hygiene products and household cleaning items may also be available. Other arrangements can be made for homeless persons, and delivery is available under certain conditions.
That's great to know.
It's not
Yeah.
too lengthy.
Right.
It's short and to the point.
Right. But gives you a lot of information.
And this is in a different form. This is what
Right.
the community resource specialist sees on
Right.
their screen, but they have a whole different
Yeah.
way into this
Okay.
database. And so you can walk into the food shelf, and masks are required.
Mm-hmm.
This has changed many times
I'm sure.
throughout COVID.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because in the early days, food was being distributed outside under a tent.
Right.
You know, and so
Yes,
then
I remember that.
Things
We had
calmed
lines,
down.
yeah.
So we have that you have to fill out an application, and you need proof of residence when you fill out that application. That's not every time you come.
This is the first time, so they know have it
Yeah, I think they might renew
every
every
so often.
so often,
Yeah.
but you know, we don't go into minuscule details.
Right.
There's no point,
Right.
because it's something that's going to happen in the future.
Right.
And also, people truthfully can only remember so much.
Oh, sure.
So they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 3:30. Their accessibility is they have designated parking for handicap, full wheelchair access, and no stairs in the service delivery area. So it really tells you everything you're going to
Yeah.
need. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like down below they also tell you what other services Hope offers.
That's right. Other services at this location. And look at this, last updated March 19th, 2021. So this information was updated as recently as March.
And so
And it
one
didn't
could assume
change
there's no
much
change.
after that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Not a lot of changes since. Okay.
Plus, under normal circumstances, we are formally updating every single service in every single program, in every single agency, at least annually.
Yeah. That's a lot when you talk about over 1,000 agencies.
It's a
That's a
lot.
lot of work
Yeah,
to do.
it's 10,000
Sure.
services. Yeah.
Okay.
So here are the other ones: clothing, the volunteer.
Yeah, they had some emergency services and housing referrals and things like
Yeah,
that too.
seasonal resources. You know, they always
Yeah,
have a
that's
holiday
great.
program. Okay, so now we're going to go back to find
good.
resources.
Okay. So, so people can do that, and they can spend. I could see spending a lot of time. It's sort of like going to some other websites where you say, "Oh, they have this. Oh, maybe I'll look over here." And so,
But there's a caveat, because if you are searching our website
yeah,
on your own, you're basically only going to look for what you know
Right.
about.
that's true.
While our community resource specialists have expertise in the taxonomy and know, and believe me, whatever you're calling about,
Yeah,
I guarantee that unless it's a very unusual circumstance, you are not the first
Right.
person to call about that.
Right.
You're not the 100th person
Right.
to call about that.
Right.
We've gotten plenty of
Right.
calls about
Yeah.
that. We've been
Yeah.
around for 15 years.
exactly.
Okay.
So if we could quickly look at some of the numbers, I don't know if we can get back to that.
Yes.
There.
Here's the statistical
Statistics.
report.
Okay, so I know we looked at the state, and then we got to the county from
Yeah.
the state.
So here's the statewide call summary.
Okay, and we'll just
And
do this
it does
quickly.
it does talk about
I think,
Addison County.
I think at the very bottom.
but
I
at the
saw.
bottom you can click on the actual Addison County
yes,
page.
right. So this shows by month how many calls you get, and when we sort of looked at it briefly earlier, it looks like winter tends to have more calls in general
Well, yes,
than
because
summer.
first of all, the emergency housing program doesn't
Right.
get a whole lot of calls if it's not the winter.
Right, right. So that's one of your big ones, and then also
And,
I
and
think.
holiday programs.
Yeah, okay, right. And if people go in here and want to look at the numbers, the way I like looking at numbers, they'll also see it during COVID in 2020, the numbers just skyrocketed.
Yeah,
So
once
pick
it was-
pick a month and say what the numbers were in 19, 20, and 21 in the
Okay,
same month.
so let's talk about this month. It was July.
Okay,
Okay, you know, normally, like we had 50 in the previous year, there were 57 calls
In July.
or contacts
Right.
in July, and then all of a sudden there were 148 contacts in 2020.
Wow. during COVID, yes.
And even, you know, I mean, even more people actually searched our website.
Sure. So the need really came to light during COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
And that affected, which is part of what I wanted to quickly ask you in the short time we have left, is that the effect that COVID has had on 211s.
Well, 211s all over the country and in Canada have the resource departments. Those are the people who actually update the database.
Yeah.
We have had our work cut out for us, obviously.
Yeah.
The first month, February of 2020, it was chaotic. It was definitely chaotic. So we had to do the best we could.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. And you just got hit by it. So
And we did a great job. We
and
added,
you did.
we added a ton of resources into the database.
That's great.
Some of which will be removed
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
We had no
Right.
idea
Yeah.
that this was going to be ongoing.
No, it's certainly longer than we thought.
Yes.
So Beth, I think you and I could talk for hours about all of this.
Oh,
And
yes.
It's such an amazing program, and I will make a pitch that I know you were going to make, but we're running out of time.
Okay.
I'm going to make a pitch to all legislators to get in and understand 211 and what it does in your area. I think it's a really important organization, and go and look through the website and really understand what the numbers are and what the issues are in
We'd
your
be
county.
happy to make a presentation.
Great. So before we sign off, are there any other things you'd like folks to know about? A couple things you want viewers to remember?
Well, I want you to remember that it's free.
Okay.
And I want you to remember that it's easy to access, either by telephone, text, or online. But remember what I said about online.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great.
And the most important thing is it's for you. It's for everybody. There's information in our database for absolutely everyone who lives in Vermont. And if you have someone who lives in another state, we can connect you with their 211.
I'm so impressed, and I thought I knew something about it, and I feel like I've learned a lot more and have a lot more to learn. So thanks so much for coming on the show, Beth.
Thank you for inviting me.
That's it for now. My guest today has been Beth Diamond, Southwest Regional Resource Specialist for Vermont 211. Thanks to MCTV for producing this show. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time.